A penny saved is a penny earned, but what if that penny is worth thousands, even millions? Imagine finding a coin that could change your life overnight. Welcome to the world of ultra-rare Lincoln 1-cent pennies. Stick around as we explore the top 5 most valuable and sought-after pennies that could make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Have you ever looked at a penny and wondered if it could be worth more than just 1 cent? What if I told you that a single penny, something so ordinary and often forgotten, could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Sounds impossible, right? But in the world of coin collecting, even the most unassuming coins can surprise you. Let's dive into one such story, one about a humble 2016 penny that, thanks to a combination of history, rarity, and a bit of luck, has captured the attention of collectors and fetched a jaw-dropping price. Before we get into the specifics of the 2016 penny, let's rewind a bit and think about the penny's legacy. The 1-cent coin has been a staple of U.S. currency since its introduction in 1793. Over the years, it has undergone various transformations, both in design and composition. By the time we reached 2016, the penny had evolved, but its status as a constant in the American pocket remained unchanged. But it was in 2016 that something unusual happened. The U.S. Mint decided to release a special series of Lincoln pennies to mark the 100th anniversary of the first Lincoln cent. The 1909 Lincoln cent had made history by becoming the first U.S. coin to feature a historical figure, and in 2016, the Mint set out to honor the legacy of the coin and the man it depicted. As part of this centennial celebration, the Mint released 4 different reverse designs, each representing a significant chapter of Abraham Lincoln's life, from his early years in Kentucky to his presidency and legacy. For most collectors, these new designs were exciting, adding a fresh take on a classic coin. But there was more to the story than just the new imagery. Something went a little off track at the Philadelphia Mint that year, and what started as a minor mistake would turn into a major opportunity for those with a keen eye for rare coins. It turned out that some of the 2016 pennies, especially those minted at the Philadelphia Mint, were struck with an unintended change in their composition. Normally, pennies are made from a copper-plated zinc mixture, but a handful of these coins were mistakenly made with a higher copper content. The impact of this was small, just a minor variation in the metal used, but in the world of numismatics, this kind of detail can make all the difference. At first, this might have seemed like a minor mistake, but collectors quickly took notice. Coins that were produced with an error or an unusual characteristic tend to attract attention, and this penny was no different. The pennies with the higher copper content became highly sought after, as collectors realized these coins were likely to be rarer than others produced that year. The rush to find these pennies began almost immediately, and many people started checking their loose change, hoping to spot one of these rare specimens. But the story doesn't stop there. These 2016 pennies weren't just valuable because of their composition, they also had some other unique qualities that made them especially interesting to collectors. Many of these coins were struck with deeper than usual die impressions, making the design features sharper and more defined. This enhanced clarity gave the pennies a distinct look, setting them apart from other years. A well-struck penny with a clear, deep impression is far more desirable than one with a softer, worn design, and this detail added even more value to these rare coins. As news spread about these special 2016 pennies, the buzz grew, and the demand soared. What had once been an ordinary piece of currency became a prized collector's item, and the value of these coins began to rise. Collectors, numismatists, and even casual enthusiasts flocked to auctions, eager to get their hands on one of these rare pennies. And while most pennies are worth only 1 cent, these special 2016 pennies, thanks to their composition, design quality, and rarity, became much more valuable than you might expect. Now, you might be wondering just how much one of these rare 2016 pennies could be worth. A typical penny? Just a cent. But a penny with the right composition, a sharp die impression, and that coveted rarity can be worth thousands, if not more. In fact, some of these rare 2016 pennies have been known to fetch as much as $28,000 in auctions. Yes, you heard that right, $28,000. From a penny that started as a simple, everyday piece of currency, to a collector's dream worth thousands of dollars. It's a testament to the unpredictable nature of coin collecting and how even the most overlooked objects can hold untold value. So, the next time you find a penny in your pocket, remember that it could be more than just change. It might be a hidden treasure, waiting for the right collector to discover its true worth. For those who've been fortunate enough to find one of these rare 2016 pennies, they might just be holding onto a piece of American history, and a coin worth $28,000. Have you ever come across a penny that seemed too dirty to even bother picking up? It's easy to overlook these coins in our pockets, on the sidewalk, or in that jar of loose change collecting dust on the counter. But what if I told you that one of these seemingly forgotten pennies could actually be worth a small fortune? It sounds impossible, right? A dirty, worn-out penny worth thousands of dollars. Well, that's the story behind a particular penny from 2006, and trust me, it's more than just a coin, it's a piece of history waiting to be discovered. At first glance, the 2006 penny might seem like just another copper-coated disc, indistinguishable from millions of others minted that year. We see them all the time, dirty pennies, tarnished by years of use, often discarded without a second thought. But beneath that grimy exterior could lie a coin of great rarity, one that collectors would fight for, eager to get their hands on a specimen that holds far more value than meets the eye. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this specific penny, let's take a moment to appreciate the history of the 1-cent coin. The penny has been a constant in American currency for over 2 centuries. It was first introduced in 1793, making it one of the longest-running coins in the United States. Over the years, the design of the penny has changed several times, but one thing remains steady: the iconic Lincoln portrait that has graced the obverse since 1909. This image of Abraham Lincoln has become synonymous with the penny, and it continues to remind us of the values he fought for. By 2006, the penny had undergone several design shifts, but nothing quite as monumental as what was coming in the next few years. In 2006, the U.S. Mint began a 5-year program to redesign the reverse side of the penny in honor of Lincoln's 200th birthday, which would take place in 2009. The goal was to feature different moments from Lincoln's life, starting with his birth in a log cabin in Kentucky, progressing through his time as a lawyer, and culminating in his presidency and his legacy. The first of these new designs was unveiled on the 2006 penny. This new reverse design was intended to depict a log cabin, a simple structure that symbolized Lincoln's humble beginnings. For most people, this new design was a simple change, a slight nod to Lincoln's origins. But what makes the 2006 penny stand out among the thousands of pennies minted that year is the fascinating story behind the dirty penny and why it caught the attention of so many collectors. You see, the story begins with the minting process itself. Coins, by their very nature, are mass-produced. The U.S. Mint strikes millions of pennies every year, and when you're producing such a vast number of coins, some variations and imperfections are inevitable. While most of these differences go unnoticed or are simply discarded, others can have a significant impact on a coin's value. In 2006, a few pennies were struck with unusual characteristics that caused them to stand out from the rest. These characteristics were minor minting errors or variations that most people wouldn't have noticed if they weren't trained to spot them. But for seasoned coin collectors, these dirty pennies, those that were worn out, discolored, or struck with errors, were seen as treasures in disguise. You see, while dirt and grime might make a penny look old or unattractive, they can also hide something rare and valuable beneath the surface. What happened with the 2006 penny was that some of them were struck with off-center impressions, die cracks, or other imperfections that made them much rarer than the average penny. These small defects, which might seem insignificant at first, actually made the penny highly sought after by collectors who specialize in error coins. In the numismatic world, even the slightest flaw or variation can increase a coin's desirability and value exponentially. But the real twist in this story comes from a particular set of 2006 pennies that were found to be dirtier than most others. These pennies, which were covered in corrosion and grime, might have seemed like they were past their prime, but as it turns out, the dirt actually helped preserve their imperfections. In some cases, the grime on the coin helped to highlight the unusual characteristics that made these pennies so valuable. It's not uncommon for collectors to look past the dirt and grime to reveal the hidden beauty of a coin, and the 2006 penny was no exception. You might be wondering why these dirty pennies became such a hot commodity. After all, They weren't exactly shiny or new-looking like some of the coins that make it into the high-end auctions. The answer lies in the rarity of the errors and the demand for these rare pieces. In coin collecting, rarity and condition are key factors that determine a coin's value. The dirtier a coin, the more mysterious it can seem, and collectors love the idea of owning something unique, something that stands out from the rest of the pack. Over time, word began to spread about these special 2006 pennies. Collectors, keen to find something rare, began searching through rolls of pennies and even checking their spare change, hoping to find one of these hidden gems. Some of the 2006 pennies with imperfections and unusual characteristics were sold at auctions, often fetching prices far higher than anyone could have predicted. The fact that some of these pennies had been dirty and worn only added to their intrigue and value. At first, it may have seemed like these pennies were worth only a fraction of a dollar. After all, they were just regular pennies, until you realized how rare and sought after they had become. And so, what was once a forgotten, dirty coin turned into a prized item in the coin collecting community. Now, let's get to the exciting part, the value. You might be wondering just how much a 2006 penny could actually be worth. A typical penny is worth just 1 cent, right? But when it comes to error coins or those with unique characteristics, the value skyrockets. The 2006 penny, particularly the rare error versions, has sold for as much as $43,000 in some auctions. That's right, $43,000 for a single penny. The very same penny you might have passed over as dirty, worn out, or just another coin in your pocket could be worth a small fortune to the right collector. The 1-cent penny is one of the most iconic coins in the United States, and its history stretches back over 2 centuries. The first penny was introduced in 1793, and since then, it's undergone numerous changes in design and composition. For much of the 20th century, the penny featured a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president. In 1909, to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday, the U.S. Mint decided to feature his image on the obverse side of the coin, a design that remains in place to this day. Fast forward to 1996, and the penny was still carrying Lincoln's portrait, as it had for nearly 90 years. But what made the 1996 penny so special wasn't just the design or the familiar portrait of Lincoln. It was the fact that, like most coins, the 1996 penny would eventually be impacted by the minting process. When you're producing millions of coins every year, there's bound to be some variation, and this is where things get interesting. Because sometimes, those variations are far more valuable than anyone could have imagined. The 1996 penny was minted with the same composition as its predecessors, primarily made of copper-plated zinc. But what made the 1996 penny unique wasn't just its composition, it was the potential for errors. The U.S. Mint strikes hundreds of millions of pennies annually, but not all of them are perfect. Some have off-center strikes, others have die cracks, and some might even have missing elements in their design. While the average person would think of these as imperfections or mistakes, in the world of coin collecting, these flaws are exactly what make a coin valuable. It's these errors, these subtle differences, that turn a simple penny into a rare collectible. One of the most fascinating parts of the 1996 penny story is how some of these dirty pennies became highly desirable to collectors. It turns out that, in some cases, the wear and tear on the penny actually helped preserve its minting errors. A dirty penny, one that's covered in grime or corrosion, could still retain the subtle imperfections that make it rare and valuable. And that's exactly what happened with a number of 1996 pennies. These seemingly ordinary coins, tarnished by age and exposure, were actually hiding something extraordinary. The dirty appearance of these pennies doesn't necessarily diminish their value. In fact, in many cases, it might have helped them. A tarnished or grimy penny might be overlooked by someone who's not paying attention, but for the serious collector, the dirt and discoloration could be a sign of something more valuable underneath. The dirt could be a clue that the coin had circulated for some time, passed through many hands, and survived long enough to develop the kind of characteristics that would make it stand out in the eyes of a collector. There were a number of key errors that could occur during the minting process, each of which could increase the value of a 1996 penny. One of the most coveted types of errors is the off-center strike. When a coin is struck off-center, it means that the image on the coin isn't properly aligned. The result is a penny with a misaligned design, Sometimes the image of Lincoln is cut off, or parts of the coin's edge are missing. These off-center strikes are some of the most desirable error coins, and they can sell for thousands of dollars, depending on the extent of the misalignment. Another common error that could occur with the 1996 penny is a double strike. This happens when the coin is struck more than once, often causing a doubling effect in the design. Double strikes can make certain details look blurry or overly thick, and the more pronounced the doubling, the more valuable the coin. These errors are highly sought after by collectors because they are relatively rare and show an anomaly that cannot be replicated by a normal minting process. And then there are die cracks, another type of error that can appear on the 1996 penny. A die crack happens when the metal die used to strike the coin starts to wear down or crack. When this happens, parts of the die break off and cause the design to be slightly imprinted in unusual ways. The die cracks can form lines or strange patterns on the coin, and these imperfections can make a penny from 1996 much more valuable. But how did these dirty, worn-out pennies end up becoming worth so much? The story really lies in the rarity of the minting errors combined with the increasing interest in coin collecting over the years. As more people began to realize that small imperfections on coins could turn them into rare collectibles, the market for error coins like the 1996 penny began to heat up. The more rare the error, the higher the demand among collectors, and the more valuable the coin became. Now, let's get to the most exciting part, the value. While a typical 1996 penny is worth exactly 1 cent, certain rare error versions have been sold for far more. Some of the 1996 pennies with off-center strikes, double strikes, or die cracks have fetched thousands of dollars at auction. In fact, one of these special 1996 pennies, with an incredible off-center strike, was sold for an astonishing $66,000. That's right, $66,000 for a single penny. How is that possible? Well, it all comes down to rarity and demand. There are very few 1996 pennies with such dramatic errors, and as collectors have become more aware of these rare coins, the value has skyrocketed. While most people would never think to look twice at a penny covered in dirt or grime, collectors see something entirely different, a potential treasure waiting to be uncovered. So, what does this mean for you? Well, if you happen to have a 1996 penny in your collection or tucked away somewhere, it's worth taking a closer look. Check for signs of errors like off-center strikes, die cracks, or double strikes. Even a coin that's seen better days, covered in dirt or corrosion, could be hiding something valuable beneath the surface. If you suspect you have one of these rare error coins, it's definitely worth getting it graded by a professional numismatist to determine its value. The 1996 USA 1 cent dirty penny is a perfect example of how something seemingly insignificant can hold incredible value. A penny that's worn, dirty, or tarnished could easily be overlooked, but in the world of coin collecting, it might just be hiding a treasure worth thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars. So, next time you find yourself with a 1996 penny in your hands, don't dismiss it too quickly. It could be the start of a thrilling new collecting adventure, or you could just be holding onto a coin worth $66,000. It's a small coin, often ignored, tossed into drawers or left forgotten at the bottom of pockets. The 1 cent penny, an everyday part of American life. But hidden within this tiny copper disc, especially one from 1992, lies a remarkable story. This seemingly unremarkable penny, which most people wouldn't think twice about, could actually be worth a small fortune. So, how does a humble penny, worn and seemingly weathered by time, end up being worth thousands of dollars? To understand this, we first need to dive into the history of the U.S. penny. The penny, the lowest denomination of U.S. currency, has been in circulation since 1793. While the design has evolved over the years, the image of Abraham Lincoln has been a consistent feature on the obverse, front, of the penny since 1909. Over the years, the reverse side of the coin also saw changes, the most significant being the transition from the wheat ears design to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. Fast forward to 1992, and this design would remain on the reverse of the penny, depicting the iconic Lincoln Memorial, but as we know, not all pennies are created equal. While most pennies from 1992 followed the standard minting process, a rare and special error occurred during the production of some of these coins. To most casual observers, these pennies may seem like regular coins, but to the keen eye of a collector, there's something uniquely valuable about them. In the world of coin collecting, there's an entire category devoted to mint errors, coins that didn't quite make it through the minting process as planned. These errors can range from minor issues to more noticeable mistakes, and it's these imperfections that often drive up the value of a coin. While a perfect penny might be worth only 1 cent, a penny with an unusual minting flaw could be worth far more, especially if that flaw is rare or particularly striking. For the 1992 penny, one of the most sought-after errors is known as the "am" variety. This error comes from a variation in the design on the reverse side of the coin, specifically in the lettering of America. In most 1992 pennies, the A and M in America are spaced apart, as intended. However, a small batch of 1992 pennies was struck with the A and M too close together, causing a noticeable difference in the design. This subtle error was a result of a die that was incorrectly produced, and as a result, a limited number of pennies were struck with this unusual feature. At first glance, the difference might seem insignificant. After all, it's just a slight variation in the space between two letters. But in the world of coin collecting, that small detail makes all the difference. The "am" penny from 1992 became a highly prized coin, sought after by collectors who realized its rarity and the story behind its minting flaw. Now, this isn't the only mint error that occurred in 1992. There were other variations, such as off-center strikes, double strikes, and die cracks, that also made certain pennies from this year highly valuable. But the "am" penny quickly became the star of the 1992 batch, and it wasn't long before collectors began scouring their change to find this rare error. As word spread, the demand for these coins grew, and prices began to rise. The story of the 1992 "am" penny is a testament to the fascinating world of coin collecting, where rarity and uniqueness can turn a seemingly mundane coin into something extraordinary. You might be wondering, how much could a 1992 penny really be worth? While the average 1992 penny is still worth just 1 cent, those rare "am" pennies are an entirely different story. In fact, one of these rare error coins sold for a record-breaking price, $71,000 at auction. That's right, a single penny, barely bigger than a dime, could be worth that much, all because of a small error in its minting. The value of these pennies comes from the combination of rarity and collector interest. Only a small number of these "am" pennies were ever struck, and as more collectors have become aware of their existence, the demand has only grown. The condition of the penny also plays a huge role in determining its value. Coins that are well preserved, with clear and visible details, can fetch significantly higher prices than those that are worn or damaged. So, what does this mean for you? If you have any 1992 pennies lying around, it might be worth taking a closer look. Look for the "am" error by examining the reverse side of the penny. Check the spacing between the A and M in America. If they appear unusually close together, you may have a valuable coin on your hands. And even if the penny seems worn or dirty, don't dismiss it too quickly. Sometimes, coins that seem in poor condition can still hold hidden value, especially if they feature one of these rare minting errors. In conclusion, the 1992 1-cent penny is a great example of how something small and seemingly insignificant can hold immense value. It's a reminder that, in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest details can make a big difference. So next time you find yourself holding a penny, remember, it might just be worth more than you think. And for those rare, am 1992 pennies, that value could be a staggering $71,000. Have you ever taken a moment to look at your spare change and wonder if one of those coins might be worth more than just its face value? We all know pennies are small, and let's face it, they're often the least exciting coin in our pockets. But what if I told you that some pennies, specifically the ones from 1984, might be hiding something special? Something that could change the way you think about this little copper coin forever. Let's rewind for a moment and take a closer look at the history of the U.S. penny. The penny has been a part of American currency since 1793, evolving through various designs over the years. In 1909, the most notable change occurred, when Abraham Lincoln's portrait was featured on the front, a design that still graces the penny today. Over the years, the reverse of the penny also changed, with the original wheat ears design being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. By 1984, the penny was much like the ones we still see today, the familiar image of Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, but what made the 1984 penny stand out was not just its design. It was the sheer volume of coins minted that year. Over 7 billion pennies were struck by the U.S. Mint. At first glance, that seems like a lot of pennies, right? Nothing too exciting. But, as with any mass production, mistakes can happen. And it's these mistakes, specifically those occurring during the minting process, that can make a penny extraordinarily valuable. In the world of numismatics, or coin collecting, errors in minting are highly prized. Whether it's a coin struck off-center, a die that causes a design to double or misalign, or something else entirely, these mistakes can lead to coins that are worth far more than their intended value. For the 1984 penny, one particular error stands out, the double die penny. And this error is what has made some 1984 pennies highly sought after by collectors. But what exactly is a double die error? In simple terms, it happens when a coin is struck more than once by the die used to imprint the design. This double strike causes the design to appear doubled or blurry in specific areas of the coin. In the case of the 1984 penny, this error appeared most noticeably in the letters of Liberty on the obverse and the date 1984 on the reverse. If you closely examine one of these pennies, you'll notice that the letters are duplicated, creating a doubled effect that makes the coin stand out from the rest of the batch. Now, you might be wondering why such a small and seemingly minor mistake can make the coin so valuable. The key lies in the rarity of the error. While most 1984 pennies were struck with clean, crisp designs, only a small number of them were struck with this double die error. It's these rare examples that have collectors eager to get their hands on them. For those who understand the significance of minting errors, a double die penny can be considered a gem, something that adds value and rarity to any collection. The importance of condition also plays a huge role in determining the value of a coin. Coins that are well preserved, free from heavy scratches or corrosion, tend to fetch higher prices. If you happen to find a 1984 double die penny in pristine condition, it could be worth significantly more than one that is worn down or damaged. At first, these rare double die pennies were somewhat under the radar, and not many people recognized their true value. But as more collectors began to take notice of this unique error, demand for these special pennies began to rise. Over time, the price of these error coins steadily increased, and they began to be seen as valuable collector's items. The demand for coins with minting errors, especially those as pronounced as the 1984 double die penny, has only grown as the years have passed. So how much can a 1984 double die penny actually be worth? Well, that depends on a few factors: rarity, condition, and the demand among collectors. A typical 1984 penny is worth just 1 cent. But a 1984 penny with a double die error? That's a completely different story. Imagine holding in your hand a penny that could sell for tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, one of these rare, error-filled 1984 pennies has been known to fetch an incredible $106,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right, $106,000 for a single penny. That's not a typo. A coin that started out as a simple 1-cent piece, spent and forgotten by many, ended up becoming one of the most valuable pennies in the world. This is a perfect example of how even the smallest errors in minting can result in a coin that's worth far more than anyone would expect. So, what does this mean for you? It's simple: if you have a 1984 penny lying around, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. You might be holding a coin that could turn into a treasure. Check the Liberty and the date 1984 carefully. If the letters appear doubled, congratulations, you might have a rare and valuable mint error. In the world of numismatics, it's these rare finds that make collecting coins so thrilling. You never know when you might come across a hidden gem, just waiting to be discovered. So, next time you reach into your pocket or dig through a jar of change, take a moment to look at those pennies. One of them could be worth more than you ever imagined.